Okay, change of subject. Now, first of all, what's a subject, right? The subject is, imagine you have an equation where there are like multiple unknowns, so maybe something like this. Then the unknown that is alone on one side, preferably on the left, is called the subject. So change subject means you want to make another unknown, maybe x, the subject. So sometimes the question might indicate which unknown they want you to make the subject by like a square bracket. Okay, now changing subject is actually not new. Nothing is new because it's the same as how you solve the equation. So you can imagine other than the unknown that you want to be the subject, the other stuff are all numbers. Then obviously for this one, to find x, you would take away the 3. Therefore, similarly, for this one, to make x the subject, you just take away the c, and now x is basically the subject, but we kind of prefer the subject to be on the left, so we'll rewrite it on the left. Okay, to try something slightly more complicated. So for this one, let's say we still want to make x the subject. We multiply x to the left-hand side first, and take away the b, and then divide the a away. Right? Nice and easy. Let's look at another case. So we still want x to be the subject, but the key to this question is that you have 2 copies of the unknown that you want to be the subject. So bear that in mind. That would become important. But first, we have the unknown that we want to be the subject in the denominator. We kind of don't want that. So the only way to deal with this would be you multiply this to the left. Xy. Okay. And then the next step would be you want the unknown to be the subject to move to the same side. Alright, so we have x here and an x on the right. So we'll move the term on the right to the left as well. So that x are on one side. And then you have to do something called factorizing. Alright, this of x, this also of x, so we can factor x out. And then we'll simply divide the bracket away, then x is now the subject. So the key of making an unknown the subject when that unknown appear multiple times would be to move them all to one side and then factor it out. So let's look at, let's do something similar. Like this. You can pause the video now to try this by yourself. Make x the subject. If not, answer becoming 3, 2, 1. So similarly, we'll multiply the bottom to the left first. Okay, and when the unknown you want to be the subject is inside a bracket, you also want to expand that bracket. And then we want to move all the x to one side, so we'll move this x to the left. We actually also want all the terms with no x to go to the other side. So we also move this. So it becomes b plus dy. And similarly, we'll just factor out x on the left. And then divide. Okay. So it's probably not hard. A little bit of practice is preferred. So you can go to, if you want, my membership. There would be levels questions that you can practice. But before we end, let's do one more. The last is very often we see this kind of situation where we have fraction plus fractions. Now the usual way of doing this would be you try to add them up. Alright, so you want to get the common denominator of these two fractions, so you can add them up. So similar to how you add fractions, for example 1/3 plus 1/4, to get a common denominator, you would basically multiply 3 to 4, right? So it's 12. Then for 3 to go to 12, you need to multiply 3 by 4. So if 3 need to be multiplied by 4, then this 1 also need to be multiplied by 4. So 1 times 1 is 4, plus this, because this is a plus. And then similarly, for 4 to go to 12, you need to be multiplied by 3. Therefore, this 1 is also multiplied by 3. That's how you get common denominator, right? So we actually do the same with unknowns. So we have x times w. And then for x to go to xw, it needs to be multiplied by w. So the 1 also is multiplied by w. And then for w to become xw multiplied by x. So this 1 is also multiplied by x. Like that. Then we'll do something called cross multiply usually. So we multiply this bottom to the other top, and we multiply this bottom to this top. Alright, so the left hand side becomes 1 times xw, so that's xw, and the right hand side is y times w plus x. The same as before, we expand the right hand side. Then now we have 2 copies of x, so we have to move them to the same side, factor it out, and divide. Nice and easy. Hope you learned something, and check out my membership if you need it.